Hello, my name is Job, James Lee Job, and I'm going to read you a few poems that I have posted on the blog lately. These are all untitled. I'm kind of a lazy guy. I don't like to think of titles. I think my titles kind of suck when I do think of them, so I tend to not title things. Let's say that your life is a lunch date with a friend. You've done everything that you can do to make it last. You've sent the waiter away twice before you ordered. You had 2 coffees each after the dessert. The conversation was that good. You argued playfully over the check and ended up splitting it anyway. Now it's over, despite your best efforts. That's all right. We all have to die. Every one of us. But wasn't the shrimp nice? Wasn't it a grand time? Don't be afraid of the end. It's the one fate we all have in common, man. I'm going to read you a poem by Naomi Shahib Nye that wasn't on my blog, but I kind of like it. Once by mistake, she tore a map in half. She taped it back, but crookedly. Now all the roads ended in water. There were mountains right next to our hometown. Wouldn't that be nice if it were true? I'd tear a map and be right next to you. This is one of mine. In the dream, it was some years after my death. Decades, really. I'm in the air, or perhaps I am the air. Something like that. My son, now an older man himself, walking along at night and carrying my toolbox. The same one I own now. In the dream, the toolbox does not seem to have aged at all, and I'm pleased that William has taken care of it. So in this dream, he is alive, and I am not. The opposite of reality. And perhaps that is how things should be. William walks a long way, and I float above, not knowing where he's going or what work he intends to do when he gets there. The night is warm and quiet. The only sounds are his footsteps. Hate is filling the world like a bathtub. The tub is full and spills out onto the plank floor. I'm keeping faith with God and the angels of fire and flame. I'm working in the garden trying to be kind for my footsteps and yours. Where can we walk to now? I'm trying to do right so that I won't be ashamed at the end of it. Will you help me tend this garden? I am made of drops of something like blood, but it isn't blood. In this world, some people smile as the bodies pile up, and some look away. Hate breaks over the land like a tsunami wave, great and terrible. Everything gets washed away. Yes, the good things too. Nothing gets away from the incredible wake. Even the garden will be gone. And let's do another. This is a prose poem. In the back seat of the car, I close my eyes. When I open them again, my parents are up front, and we are driving down South Caton Avenue in Baltimore. It's been years since I was in Baltimore, decades even. How nice to see the old Montgomery Ward buildings where my aunt and my cousin had worked, and the hospital where I was born. And then there's my aunt rising up from Montgomery Ward into the clouds, and my parents rise up to join her. The car keeps going, and South Caton Avenue becomes a cloud, and so do I, and so do we all in time. We'll do one more and we'll close out here. I am that poem now. This is for William Butler Yeats' poem, Sailing to Byzantium. I am that poem now. I am the paper. I am the ink. I am the thought from the poet's gray matter. I am whatever he felt at the time, whatever he thought. It didn't begin that way. The poet wrote the poem years before I ever read it, even before I was born. I'm reading the poem on a bus in Baltimore on my way to a night job I don't want, still tired from working the night before. I'm a young man with an old soul. Later, I will become an old man with a much younger soul, but that's a different story. This one is about becoming that poem. It slips in through my eyes and surges through my veins, one line at a time, one metaphor at a time, one simile, one phrase. Little by little, the poem fills me up, like a pitcher of water from a fountain in the village square. I am that poem now. The pitcher is filled, and I can drink from it when I'm ready. Can you see it? I am that poem now, and I'm walking away from the village square, going home one step at a time, even as the bus eases across Baltimore, one stop at a time, one lonely passenger at a time. I love William Butler Yeats, and I especially love Sailing to Byzantium. When I was a very young man, this is more than 40 years ago, I came across a copy of William Butler Yeats' collected poems in a secondhand store on Howard Street in San Francisco. And that's not that unusual, but it was this wonderful collection for 50 cents, right? So I picked it up, and I carried the damn thing with me everywhere I went until earlier this year. So as I moved to Baltimore and to Texas and Sacramento, this book went with me, And finally, I gave it away to another poet, Roni Bopa, just to be sharing it, because I loved the book so much for so long, and for 50 cents. Thanks for listening, everyone. Cheers.